Greetings, fellow Watford fans. Omar here once again, and it's time for the Orns 10-minute take on Watford 1, Swansea City 2. That was the result of the game at Vicarage Road that Watford never deserved to score in, let alone win. In fact, the penalty that was so clearly there, so blatantly a stonewall pen at the end of the match, they didn't even deserve to get that penalty because they didn't play hard enough, they didn't play tough enough, and they didn't play smart enough. And as a result, they dropped their second home game in the championship this season, their first under Slaven Bilic, who'd gotten Watford off to such a flying start with his stewarding of this team on Sunday against Stoke at the Bet 365. But it looked like their energy, Watford's energy from that game, was still left up at Staffordshire, in Staffordshire, in the game against Swansea, because there was no hint of the team that demolished Stoke with such ease in that game just a few days ago against Swansea at the Vic. Watford were insipid, lifeless, and very much not motivated nearly enough to make a dent on the Swansea side that came in with a game plan. Swansea were very organized. They had put the pitch and tilted the pitch in their favor by expanding play, stretching the pitch, giving maximum width to their players, and giving them lots of time and space in which to pass the ball and string together at least a dozen or so passes in their possession. They were very inventive with what their possession was about. Their whole game is predicated upon ball retention, keeping the ball and passing the ball around as quickly and as economically and as efficiently as possible. That's what you saw in this game at the Vic. A Swansea side that had come in with a blueprint, a template, a mission, and a purpose. That's what Swansea did. And they were very patient. What Swansea did in the game was bide their time, was wait for the appropriate time in which to strike. Now, they did have some opportunities in the first half of the game, but they didn't really cash in on them. Daniel Batman didn't have a whole lot to do in the first half, but it was Swansea who played much the better ball. They were better in possession than Watford were in possession. That was the difference in the first half. And quite frankly, Swansea managed the game better as well. They had a definite purpose and they were organized. Watford, on the other hand, were not organized. And Watford, the only reason why Watford took the lead after 34 minutes, they were extraordinarily sloppy, by the way, and very poor defensively. More on that in a few moments. But the only reason why the game was 1-0 to Watford at halftime was because on the 34th minute, Watford took advantage of one of the few opportunities that they even had. It took them nearly 15 and a half, 16 minutes to even launch a meaningful foray into the Swansea half of the pitch. That's how dominant Swansea were with the ball in the first 15 to 20 minutes of the game. But the 34th minute came, and there was some good workarounds with Ken Sema and Ismail Assar, who once again was Johnny on the spot, getting his fourth goal of the season, his second in two and two for him, and his 100th appearance for Watford was marked with a goal that gave Watford the 1-0 lead at halftime. Definitely against the run of play because Swansea again managed the game better, played the game better, and were much more efficient in their possession, which allowed them greater control on the pitch and a very good idea of what the Watford midfield was going to do. I think that these Watford midfielders were far too isolated on the pitch in the game against Swansea, and I think that was also a key. There was so much space that Swansea could pass into, and there was a lack of Watford ball pressure. What we saw on Sunday at Stoke was a lot more Watford ball pressure, chasing the ball, harrying the ball, giving the Stoke players very little time on the ball, pressuring them to give up the ball until Watford would get the ball back and recycle possession and start to go down the other side of the pitch. We didn't see any of that in the game against Swansea. There was almost none of it. There were very, very few opportunities or scenarios where Watford even did what they did against Stoke. I think when you have a team like Swansea in front of you, you have to be able, once you know what their strategy is or get an idea of how they like to play, you have to start to pressure the way they play. Make them uncomfortable playing the way they do. Make the team that plays at its strength, make that team's strength its weakness. So if Swansea's strength is to hold on to the ball and utilize possession and be constantly disciplined about how they possess the ball and what they do with it as they move it up the field. You have to be the antidote to that. Watford had to be the antidote. You have to make them uncomfortable at the game they're playing, disrupt their rhythm, press the ball, press high, and close down space. Watford didn't do any of that in the game against Swansea. None of it. And really, that's the reason, one of the biggest reasons why Watford lost the game. It wasn't so much that Swansea were world beaters. Now, granted, Swansea were very good, very composed, and very confident. But Watford were ill disciplined. Watford didn't have a game plan, didn't have an identity on the pitch, didn't have a mission statement, unlike the Stoke game where they were constantly doing the things you needed to do. Aggressive, sure of themselves, confident, positive. What they were doing at the Vic against Swansea was passing the ball backwards, moving the ball slowly, no hunger, no desire, no passion, no energy to really get at this game from the first whistle to the last. No, none of that. Watford didn't do any of it. And Swansea just were waiting to be patient. Swansea used patience in this game. And sure enough, in the second half, about 6.5 minutes in, they would have their patience rewarded because there was a goal that was scored, and it was scored in a manner that was absolutely atrocious on a Watford defensive standpoint because Swansea's goals in this game came from poor Watford defending. Watford watched one of the Swansea players waltz into the box and have a full range of the opportunities in front of him, and he just blasted the ball past Daniel Backman to make it 1-1. And it was absolutely comical how easy it was for Swansea to take a tour of the Watford 18-yard box and dispatch the resulting shot into the bottom left-hand corner of the net for Swansea. They took the game on their shoulders and then moved on. Watford had an opportunity in the second half and should have consolidated their 1-0 lead. Instead, they found themselves 6 minutes back into the game already at 1-1. And then it was only a matter of time before Swansea were going to get a second goal. Watford had their opportunities. They had a couple of chances in the first half as well. They did. Asprilla should have made it 2-0. He did not. And Watford did not take enough opportunity with what they had. They maximized one opportunity, but could not any more than that. In the second half, Camara, who was switched to his right side, did not get the shot that he wanted. And as a result, the goalkeeper, who did make some good saves for Swansea, kept Watford off the score sheet in the second half. Cameron moved to his right side because Watford's injury list is beginning to look like a MASH unit, the TV series from way back when. You almost want to play the MASH theme tune right now because Watford have been that all season long, a MASH unit of injuries. It is absolutely disastrous. More defenders got injured in this game, and now you're very concerned going into the game against Blackpool this coming weekend. But as for this game, Watford did not do enough, did not get at this game, did not want the game, took the game off, whatever it was. Credit to Swansea. Swansea deserved the 3 points. They're fully deserving of them. But Watford did not even really show up in this game the way that they did just 4 days ago at Stoke. And that's really the difference. 3 or 4 days ago now at Stoke, they showed up. They were on a mission. They were dedicated to their task. They were confident. In the game against Swansea, they were absent. They were not up to it. The defending was atrocious. Too much space for Swansea players to run past and run into the box. You can't let Swansea players run at you. You can't let that happen in your box. You can't let them keep running and running. Somebody has to come out and challenge. Somebody has to, as long as they're not in the 18-yard box, the Swansea player, come out and put a tackle in. Do something. Force them to stop. You cannot allow a Swansea player to be a bull and you the matador, because that was matador defense in the game against Swansea. It was inexcusable. And so as a result, Watford got a 1-1, and then it became 2-1 later on after the 17-minute hijinks of extra time because somehow technology got busted up. And oh my goodness, what do we do without any technology in the 21st century? You know, we turned into complete fools. You know, back in the 1960s and 70s, this would not be a big deal. It wouldn't have happened. And the whistle would have gone. They would have got another whistle and got another whatever, and they would have played on. Why did it take 17 minutes? But that's not the reason why Watford lost this game. The reason why Watford lost the game is that they weren't good enough. They didn't play their brand of football, and Swansea played theirs. Those are the reasons plural, why Watford lost. Swansea had a game plan. Swansea had an approach and a tactical position, and Watford did not. Swansea used the pitch better. They better utilized the spaces on the Vicarage Road pitch than the home team did. Now, when the home team is unable to utilize its own pitch as good as the away team does, that's a real problem. It's a real problem. Bottom line is the same problem that we see every week with defenders reared its ugly head in the 98th minute, 96th minute of the game, whatever it was, as in all these minutes of injury time. It was more than enough time for goals. You knew it was going to happen. And Swansea, sure enough, got their goal, and it was well deserved. Similar type of goal. Watford defenders stood around looking like spectators at a zoo, and they allowed the zoo to do its thing. And the animals, and forgive me for saying this, Swansea are not that. The animals in the zoo were entertaining. And in this case, the Swansea players, who were well deserving of their win, entertained and bedazzled the Watford players, who were just admiring their gallantry for charging past them in the defensive areas of the pitch. Swansea behaved as if they were playing at home. Watford looked as if they were playing on a schoolboy's pitch because their defense was abominable. Swansea, well deserving. Congratulations to them. I'm going to be brutally honest. Swansea absolutely deserved it. You know, hopefully Watford will learn from this. We can only hope. And the defensive frailties of this team refuse to be addressed by the owner. And I would really like for Gino Pozzo to answer a question from me. And that is this: do you ever plan to get serious about improving the one area of the pitch that has been a consistent and constant liability for you for years and years? Do you ever plan to address that and do something about it? Because all of us as Watford supporters can see that the defense in this football club, this team, this squad, is absolutely abysmal. Everyone can see that, except you. This has been the Orns 10-minute take.